I recently read the 1989 novel A Time to Kill by John Grisham, and then I watched the 1996 movie A Time to Kill directed by Joel Schumacher. In this video, I'll compare the two, see how they're alike, how they're different, and at the end of this video, I'll tell you which one I liked better. This video will contain spoilers about the book and the movie, so here's your warning. A Time to Kill attempts to answer the question, when, if ever, is someone justified in taking the law into their own hands? Is murder ever justified? What about in the most extreme cases, like if somebody rapes your daughter? A Time to Kill takes place in a small town in Mississippi. The town is Clanton in the book, and in the movie it's Canton. They took the L out for some reason. Anyway, the story is about the brutal rape and attempted murder of a 10-year-old black girl at the hands of two racist rednecks, and the subsequent murder trial of the girl's father, Carl Lee Haley, played by Samuel L. Jackson in the film, who kills both of the men after he learns what they did to his daughter. Haley's defense attorney is a young buck named Jake Brigance, played by Matthew McConaughey in the movie, in what I consider to be McConaughey's greatest role. This book is an unforgiving portrayal of racism and racial tension in the Deep South specifically. One of the core themes of this book is how different races treat each other differently, especially how black people are treated differently by a white majority. And one of the elements of this book that comes into play a lot is, people often say throughout the book that Carl Lee Haley is only being tried for this murder because of his skin color. Many people say throughout the book that if the races were reversed, if Carl Lee was white and had killed two black men that had raped his daughter, then a grand jury would never have even indicted him to begin with. One of the things that surprised me about this book is just how prolific the use of the N-word is. It's used a lot by all the characters, black, white, and it's used very casually. It's said a lot in the movie too, but nowhere near as much as it's used in the book. Even Carl Lee's own lawyer, Jake Brigance, uses the N-word, and he uses it very nonchalantly in front of black people. And it's portrayed as just a very common word used by everybody in this town back then. But the Jake in the movie, Matthew McConaughey's character, he never uses that word once in the movie, and I think that makes him, a little bit more likable of a character as opposed to the Jake in the book. John Grisham grew up in the Deep South, and he has admitted that he has struggled with racism himself. He has said that the character of Jake Brigance is based on himself. Here he is talking about it in this 2013 interview with the BBC.
I struggle with racism every day because of the way I was raised, because of I was raised in an all-white world in Mississippi, and we thought it would always be white.
This is the first John Grisham novel I've ever read. I know he writes a lot of courtroom dramas, and I really appreciated the accuracy with which he depicts courtroom proceedings and timeline of events in a trial. I used to be a television news reporter, and I covered several trials over a few years, and he gets it right. I know it makes sense because Grisham was a lawyer before he became an author, but I appreciated the accuracy nonetheless. This is a thick book. It's 600 pages plus, and because of that, a lot gets left out of the movie, but the movie itself is like 2.5 hours long, so a lot of the events that are in the book are in the movie, and the story and structure itself remain intact. This movie has one of the greatest casts ever assembled. Matthew McConaughey, Samuel L. Jackson, Sandra Bullock, Kevin Spacey, Oliver Platt, Donald Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland, Ashley Judd, and a terrific supporting cast on top of that. This movie, I believe, was my first major introduction to Matthew McConaughey as an actor, and I instantly fell in love with him. He is such a good dramatic actor. And he made a bunch of romantic comedies shortly after this movie, which was a shame because I think he's best in serious roles like Dallas Buyers Club, True Detective, Interstellar. Samuel L. Jackson is also so good in this film. While it may not be his greatest performance, for me, it's his most memorable role. And that's saying something because he's had quite a career, but nothing, and I mean nothing, will ever top this scene.
Objection,
Do you think
Your
they
Honor.
deserve to die, Mr.
Your
Haley?
Honor.
Answer the question.
Carly,
Did
don't
they
answer that
deserve to
question.
die?
Yes,
They deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
That moment gives me chills every time I see it. And on a lighter note, it inspired this hilarious sketch from Chappelle's Show.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
By the way, that specific moment with Carl Lee on the stand, not in the book. His whole testimony is actually just very briefly summarized after the fact, and that specific exchange is never mentioned. A quick note about some of the other cast members in this movie. Sandra Bullock is great. She's got kind of a limited role in this movie. I wish she was in it a little bit more, but she's great as Ellen Rourke, or Roark, the young law clerk from Ole Miss who has really good chemistry with Matthew McConaughey. There's good sexual tension between the two of them that never comes to fruition because Jake Brigance is a happily married man. Oliver Platt is Harry Rex Vonner, a divorce lawyer who's also friends with Jake, and I'm so glad he was cast in this role because Oliver Platt, he is just delightful. He provides a lot of the comic relief and has just some really good, funny one-liners.
Ellen Rourke, brilliant law student.
Do with me as you will.
And Kevin Spacey, his personal problems aside, this dude can act. Like I said earlier, this movie cuts a lot of what's in the book out because the book is so long, but the core is there. However, there's a lot of minor changes and differences, too many to get into in this video, but I will talk about a few of the bigger differences that I noticed. One being the moment when Carl Lee actually kills the two rednecks. In the book, he laughs like a maniac when he kills them, but in the movie, he is just silent the whole time. Sandra Bullock's character in the book is described as a pale-skinned redhead. The jury deliberations are long and drawn out in the book, and it goes very quickly in the movie. But in the book, one of the jurors actually gets threatened by a member of the KKK, and Lucian Wilbanks, who's played by Donald Sutherland in the movie, he actually offers to pay one of the jurors thousands of dollars for a not guilty verdict, but he never follows through with that. Carl Lee never gives that speech to Jake about being one of the bad guys the night before the closing arguments. That scene in the movie, that never takes place in the book. And Jake's closing argument is different in the book. In the movie, he tells the jury to close their eyes and picture a little girl being brutally beaten and raped, and then says this.
Now imagine she's white.
But in the book, Jake never gives that monologue in his closing argument. In fact, it's one of the 12 jurors that gives that close your eyes, imagine she's white speech during their deliberations, and that's actually what sways the jury to vote ultimately not guilty. All right, so which one of these do I like better, the book or the movie? It's a little unfair because admittedly I have seen this movie many times and I love it. It is the best courtroom drama I personally have ever seen on film. And the book is good, it's a tad long, but the movie with its amazing cast and incredible performances by everybody, I like it better than the book. All right, I want to hear from you. Have you read the book or seen the movie, A Time to Kill? What did you think? Do you agree with me, disagree? Comment below. And I have a quick announcement. Coming up throughout the month of October, leading up to Halloween, I will be doing a series of spooky, scary reviews based on horror movies and books, starting with The Exorcist, the book versus the movie. So stay tuned for that. That will be out soon. And if you like this video, please do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, make sure you hit the notification bell, subscribe to my channel, share these videos, tell your friends, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.